What is up, everyone? It's Blue here, and today I want to talk about the Battlefield 6 beta, and I wanted to give my insight into what I feel like would improve the game experience. Now, this is all my opinion, and I am a person who enjoyed Battlefield 3, Bad Company, Battlefield 4, really enjoyed that one, and then afterwards, couldn't get into Hardline, Battlefield 1, 42, couldn't get into any of them. I For some reason I just lost interest in the whole EA Battlefield genre. So I might not be a very insightful person when it comes to Battlefield, but at least from my experience with the older ones, I can kind of give at least my solutions to some of the issues that I saw in the beta. And yes, I did play both weeks of the beta. I played every class. I didn't use the LMGs too much, and I'll get into that later. The aircraft, I wasn't able to really get into. I had people just, I guess, spamming the A button or the space bar or whatever they were playing on, just hopping in that shit before I can even think about it. So I couldn't get into any of the aircraft. Actually, that's a lie. I got into one helicopter, and I've come from War Thunder controls. This is a complete side thought. And I got about 10 feet in the air, and I thought the E and Q would be the trim, and I pressed E and hopped out of the fucking building. So that's my helicopter experience. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the main concept of this whole video. The first thing I had would be for ease of use. That would just be having the loadout customization be available in between games. So game ends, you get your challenges, you completed some, you can soup up your guns, and then hop back into the other game as soon as it starts. So that's kind of an ease of use one. Also, multiple loadouts per option. I feel like we were pretty limited on a lot of the features, so I'm not going to drill this one too much because a lot of this stuff could be implemented. They just didn't show us that in the beta, if that makes sense. Yeah. Number 3 is going to be a little controversial. That would be locking weapon types behind classes, with the exception of certain ones, like marksman rifles, DMRs, things like that. Having certain gun class types that could be transferable would be nice, but at least from the older Battlefield experience, I know a lot of people are going to hate this, but locking them behind classes, I feel like is a better Battlefield experience. Hands down. So all the other changes right now are going to be combat related. So the grenades in Battlefield 6, I feel like they need to do more damage. Either do more damage, and then I guess I would be okay with inhibiting health regen for a period of time, kind of like the Fletchet rounds. But having grenades do more damage, I feel like would go well against the assault classes. If you know someone's in a corner or you're about to breach into a building, having the ability to throw a grenade and actually, have faith that it could get a kill. Like, I think in the entire beta, both 2 weekends, I was only killed by a grenade once, and that's because it blew up a vehicle I was next to. That's it. There's been times where I'm laying an egg on the fucking grenade, and it won't kill me whatsoever. As a shotgun, wasn't afraid of them at all. I would just run right through them and continue one-tapping people. So the grenades need to do more damage. That I feel like is a must, and it would greatly improve the close-range combat. C4 and just explosives in general, I feel like need to do a tad more damage to equipment. I've thrown C4 on the spawn points that the snipers get, and I've had it not do anything. I've thrown grenades on those spawn points. I've launched rockets at the walls that the support class can drop. Nothing. So maybe adjust that a little bit. The next thing I would like to go into would be the time to kill. Now, once I think about it after playing the game, and my aim was terrible at first, it slowly started getting better. I feel like a lot of the time to kill issues that people are having would be server latency. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. A lot of the issues were the server. And, I mean, when you have 500,000 people logging in for a beta that they haven't really tested with that large of a group, I feel like that's expected. I hope it's something that is going to be fixed and worked on, and once Battlefield implements their, I think they might still be doing the process where you can buy your own server and have server browsers, but I feel like once that's implemented, the servers will be much better. At least I'd hope. But a lot of the latency issues I noticed were maybe the first 2 or 3 bullets would not register. A big one for me would be I'd be getting shot at, and then I'd go behind cover, and about a second or two of going behind cover, I'd die. And it would show that person, shooting me through a wall. So just a little bit of desync when it comes to the server. So I find it really hard to engage in a conversation about the time to kill when we didn't have servers that were extremely good, Like, it's really hard to kind of... Yeah, it's difficult to get a good grasp on that, at least for me. Moving on to more combat stuff, the LMGs. So typically the LMGs have been about the same in Battlefield games, but from at least me coming over from games like Hell Let Loose and a lot of older style multiplayer FPSs, I personally would like to feel like the LMGs are more heavy, like they're heavier. And I'm not just saying like, you run twice as slow, because it's game. We're not going to go super realistic and have the guy ruck around 80 pounds of ammo. But I'd like the LMGs to at least have a better impact in the game, because I felt like they were pointless. Now, people might hate on me for that, but the assault class, the marksman rifles, all of that would outgun the LMGs most of the time, if not all the time. And I think a big fix for that, I've heard some people talk about the suppression mechanic. Increasing that would be great. Personally, I would like, I know this might be uncommon, and a lot of people might not like this, but I would like the damage to be increased, the recoil increased if you're not using the bipod, and then add the suppression. Really forcing those LMG guys to kind of play like an LMG, trying to lock down an area. It's just something I think would improve the game, at least when it comes to, that whole class. Because with the free weapon system, I was just playing as the support class with normal ARs. Like, I wasn't messing with the LMGs after about an hour of playing. Let's see. Fixed machine guns. So, like, the machine guns on the vehicles, the tank machine guns are great. The light tank machine guns are great. The transport vehicles, I feel like those machine guns need to do high damage close up, extreme fall off with damage, and then maybe have minor suppression. Just because, those vehicles are made for transports, and this is more of like a fun, change I'd add. I feel like if they did a little more damage, maybe to the headshots or, something, it would be much more useful using those transports. That's just, not a big deal for me. But the shotguns are pretty dominant, I will say, especially with the close quarters. All the maps we were given had a lot of areas where shotgunners could thrive, and there wasn't a lot of counters for them. When you're rolling with the shotgun, you have 8 rounds, one shot to kill, and then even if they have the slug rounds, 1 shot to kill upwards of 30, 40 feet, and then it drops to 75 damage. I felt like, I hate to say it, but the shotgun there should be some sort of changes to make sure they're not as dominant. And this is coming from someone that religiously used the shotguns. I was that douchebag, getting 4-man, 5-man kills with a stupid shotgun. Like I said earlier, I think adding the explosive damage with grenades would 100% improve people using shotguns. Because, realistic scenario, you're about to enter, let's say, the C objective, where it's that big-ass building on, I think, it's not Liberation Week, I'm blanking on the names. But you enter that objective, right before you go, someone's going to be hiding behind the stairs, grenade it out, hold your angle, and wait. Making the grenades something that needs to be feared most likely counter out a lot of the And I apologize, I am just dumping a whole bunch of information, but I wanted to get this video out, and I had quite a lot of things I wrote down over here. Yeah, there's a bit. So this next part's going to be more class specific. So with the recon class, I think the suppression effect should be greater than other units. Like, they should have increased suppression. And it makes sense. Like, if you're sniping, they see your glint, and there's 1, 2, 3 people tossing covering rounds trying to move forward. I think it should be harder to hit those shots. I also think that while a recon unit is under suppression, they should not be able to spot people. Because, I mean, it just doesn't make sense, at least for me. Like, if there's LMGs, tanks, whatever shooting at you, and you're just ignoring them, tanking a round or two, just spotting people, I think that should be effective. And also with spotting, I think it would be better if they reverted back to older Battlefields, where you actually had to press a button to confirm a spot. So you zoom in, see a tank, press a button, then it's spotted for everyone. And then it has like a 1-2 second cooldown. You can do it again. Planes, vehicles, infantry, whatever. I think that would be a little better than having it be just a passive ability they get. Let's see. I think that's all I had for recon. The medic class, not a lot of changes. I actually enjoyed playing as the medic, throwing a whole bunch of smokes down, layering down walls, reviving people, giving them cover. It was fun. The only thing I'd like to change, and this one's really me. I don't think a lot of people like this, but personally, I enjoyed having the medical bags. And the reason why I enjoyed the medical bags, you would get a shit ton of points. That's one thing. But it also helped with trying to push choke points. So the medical bag, for people who didn't know, it's like the ammo bag, only when you throw it down, it increases health regen, and then it just disappears like the ammo bag. I think that would be good, especially with the rush gameplay. There's a lot of choke points, and the spawn points on a lot of the rush maps are a little fucked up. I think that would be better. Moving on to engineer class. The only thing I had about the engineer class was I want the repair tool to have more of a cooldown. And the reason is, I mean, there's been situations, especially on, I think, I'm blanking on the game mode, but it's a game mode where the attackers get 1 tank at the bat, then 2, and then they get more. It's more of like a rush game mode. But especially with that one in the desert, if they parked that fucking tank up on a hill and had one guy with a repair kit, that tank's never gonna die. So I personally think that, at least with situations like that, the repair tool needs to have some sort of overheat factor. That way, you would actually have to run like a 3-man squad or something like that. Because if you're really good with the tanks, it could be really dominant. Like, that could be game. You get one good squad in a tank unit, whew, it's not fun.
So I'm going to be moving on to things about vehicles. Right off the bat, I'm assuming they're going to have the customization like they had. Like before, you could put reactive armor on your tanks, maybe change the machine gun up top from normal armor piercing to incendiary, load canister shots, whatever customization. I'd still love to see that stuff. But like I said, we were only given like a small piece of the game, actually a medium piece. And I feel like a lot of these features are going to be there, at least I'd hope. Let's see, a complaint I had right off the bat, not a lot of people use this vehicle, but the anti-aircraft vehicle, it's fucking terrible. I'm gonna be quite honest, the guns are trash. And for me, I've come from older Battlefields where people would use the anti-aircraft vehicle as like an anti-infantry vehicle. So, at least with its current stage in Battlefield 6, that vehicle, I mean, if you get a kill on someone, it's a miracle. Like, I can land headshots with that fucking thing, it won't kill anyone. So maybe increase that a little bit, but do the opposite, where the damage increases further away and then decreases closer. kind of that opposite, I think that would be good, because I mean, the bullets aren't meant for, super close velocity. I think that would improve it. The missiles on the anti-aircraft vehicle, terrible. I've had numerous times where I've baited out a helicopter, even a plane. I've locked on, they've dropped their flares, and then wait a second, boom, 2 missiles. And one of the missiles does like 20 damage, and one does like 400. And at least with older games, like those 2 missiles would be enough to critical the vehicle to where they had to kind of go back, repair a little bit. So I think just tweaking that a little bit would be better. But yeah, that's the only vehicle complaint I had. Like I said previously, I didn't do any of the aircraft because it was almost virtually impossible to get in one. You had a lot of people just waiting in spawn, just spamming the buttons trying to get into it. So this is pretty much the end. I want to thank you for staying around this long. The last little bit of insight I would have would be bug fixes. So fixing the spots where people could get inside the rocks. After the first weekend, they did fix quite a bit of them. When it comes to, I'm blanking on the map. There's one map where you can parkour up the rooftops. I actually kind of liked that. I feel like that could be implemented as a feature because we haven't really had a lot of vertical combat Battlefield. It's either they're on one big vantage point or you're on the ground. So having like more vertical combat I feel would be pretty cool and refreshing. It's something new. So with those spots, either making it more accessible to where if you just have a squad that's up there that just, drops a spawn point, just camps there the whole game, you can get to them. But I mean, after you push through like the first objective or the second one, that squad up there becomes useless. A lot of the time they'll just chill up there still. But the other bug fixes, the weapons disappearing, the sound going away, the scopes sometimes having like this black blur over it where you couldn't see out of them. That happened to me a few times. The kaleidoscope vision, where like little triangles of your screen is missing. It was really fucking weird. But yeah, that's pretty much everything I had. Like I said, thank you so much. These are just things that I've noticed as a former Battlefield enjoyer. And if you have any other things or like my insight or like to kind of argue some of my points or just whatever, feel free to comment below. This has been a fun one. I've enjoyed the beta. I'm definitely going to be playing the game when it comes out. Now, whether or not they hold true to their word and try to use this as a revamp, or if this is going to be like a money grab with a fancy beta release, I'm not sure. But I'm looking forward to it either way. Really appreciate it. Thank you again. Peace.